Alright, so what we got here is a 1984 Honda xr250r. This was my father's. It's the very first bike I ever rode, so it's got a lot of sentimental value to me. And I've actually taken it completely apart and had the frame all sandblasted. I tried to clean the plastics up as best I could. They were pretty messed up, plus they were spray painted black. I still have some work to do on those, but what happened is after I got done putting it all back together, I put the Kickstarter on and kicked it over. It was running, and then I tried it again later on, and the Kickstarter shaft snapped right off. So I have to replace that, and I've been looking online and I can't really find anything that has an instructional video on how to do that for this bike. And of course bikes change over the years, so that's what I'm going to try to do now, is do an instructional video for that. I have a new one of these coming. It was 50 bucks off eBay. I got the actual Kickstarter shaft for 50 bucks off eBay also. That's what it looks like. I also got a oil seal, which is this little doohickey, and it goes like this, and it's actually the part that goes around the shaft right there. This was $7, so all in all spent around 100 bucks, but hopefully this will be the last thing I'll have to do to the bike to get it up and running again. I don't actually have the Kickstarter lever. Hasn't came in the mail yet, so I'm gonna probably finish this tonight and then just wait for that part. But I'll be editing the video, and so you don't have to watch the whole process, because I'm gonna have to take off some of this stuff to get the right crankcase cover off. I'm gonna have to remove the oil filter screws, the crankcase cover screws. Probably gonna have to remove the brake lever, which there's like this little cotter pin right here, and then you just pull this out, and then you unscrew this part, and it just pulls off. Like, you have to wiggle it through here, but it's not that big of a deal. I don't know if I'm gonna have to get off the skid plate. It doesn't look like I will. Looks like they made it so you can get to the screw there. I'll probably have to take off that, and the clutch, and the decompression lever cable. We'll see. Hopefully I don't have to take the exhaust off, but that's not really that big of a deal. It's 4 screws here, and one here, and there's one up back here. But anyways, we'll see. I'll cut to after I've got some of this stuff off, I'll cut back to it. Alrighty, wish me luck. Okay, I thought here would be a good point to stop and take a video. I'll show you what I've done so far. It's really only taken me about 15 minutes maybe. So I took out the oil filter with the 3 8mm bolts, and here's the spring, and obviously this goes in one direction, which is the rubber gasket facing out. So it's pretty simple. So as the oil comes through, this hole goes into the oil filter, and then it comes out of where that seal is. It goes inside that hole, goes through here and out of this hole, and then that oil is forced into this hole and travels up through here, which travels to the top of your engine. And I had to get in here with a size 10 and loosen this up, and it got just high enough to where it's touching the exhaust, but it's loose. It's not connected anymore. So I just got to be careful when I'm taking this off, because there's a brass washer here and here. And then I disconnected the clutch all I did was I loosened the clutch up at the steering, and then that came off real easy. And then I just removed this 8mm, and the decompression lever cable came off. That's right here. I just tucked it out of the way. What else? Oh yeah, so I also took off the 8mm bolt that's on the back of the brake and pulled this pin out, and then the brake just moved up, and see, it's out of the way, and I can move it around if I need to. This bolt and this bolt are both 10mm, and this barely fits in there. But what I've done is I've gone around with the 8mm, loosened all the bolts, and then came in with these and loosened these. So now I'm going to take off all the bolts and see if it's the whole clutch cover just pulls off, because I've never done this before, so I'm kind of just remembering where everything is. Obviously I've got the video, which is nice, and which I highly recommend doing. If you ever take apart your bike, videotape it so you can just play it back and watch it later. It'll make things so much easier. The gloves are a must-have. Lots of paper towels also. I had to change the oil. This is something else interesting. This oil was brand new when I parked this bike, and I knew I was going to be working on it, so I changed the oil, I put a fresh batch in, but the bike's been sitting for a year, and you can see just from sitting that this oil has changed consistency and color. It's I'm not going to put it back in the bike, obviously. Oil degrades over time, and so sitting in the engine for a year was good for the engine, sure, but the oil's toast. So I still have I got the skid plate off. It was only 3 bolts, real easy. So let's see what's under the clutch cover. So this is worth recording. I took all the bolts out, and there's actually 8 bolts and 2 nuts. The 2 10mm nuts that go here, and the 8 bolts that go around. Not counting the 3, obviously, that go to the oil filter. But they're different sizes. So what I've done is I want to remember what goes where. So what I do is I lay down a paper towel, and this is the orientation that they went in. And you can see there's obviously long, medium, shorter, and so those are things that I don't want to mix up. So I'm videotaping this. If I were to get up and not watch where I'm walking and kick this, I'll be able to know where they go now, which is nice. So, alright, so I'm going to try to take this off.